You're watching Hawaii News Now, Sunrise.
All right, welcome back. We're here with U.S. Representative Colleen Hanabusa. A lot happened just last week. It was crazy.
That's right.
So let's get straight down to business. A couple of landmark rulings by the U.S. Supreme Court. Proposition 8 and DOMA both struck down. What does this mean? And we talked to you about this last week. I don't know if anything's developed, but what does this mean as far as gay marriage here in Hawaii?
Well, in terms of gay marriage in Hawaii, what's made it very clear from that decision is that they relied a lot on the fact that this is a state issue. And so DOMA, however, the significance of DOMA is that it says that by striking it down as unconstitutional, it means that you can no longer say what the federal government had said earlier, which is that you're not entitled to those benefits. So you're entitled to those benefits. The federal government can't interfere with that. So I think the next steps are going to be, there's a case still pending in the Ninth Circuit here as to whether or not the Civil Unions Bill is unconstitutional for the state. If that's struck down as unconstitutional, then I believe what the court's going to do is then find that it was discriminatory, unconstitutional, and gay marriages will become the law in Hawaii.
Okay. Now, starting today, student loans, they double. The House, they did their part as far as getting a bill passed. The Senate hasn't. But are we, obviously there's so many taxpayers and so many potential voters that are going to be angry about this. Are we to think that the Senate is going to get back and pass something that will be retroactive?
I think the student loan issue will become retroactive.
Okay.
And so what that probably means is, no one ever does one bill. So, I mean, it'll be a bill, and then they'll kick it over to the House, and the House will probably agree. I think people should be assured that I'm very certain that what will happen is that it will be a retroactive application. There seems to be no one disagreeing with the fact that we just need to get it done.
Okay. There's so much going on. We talked, for quite some time, for the past few months, about sequestration and what kind of effect it would have here. And we kind of avoided a big situation with Pearl Harbor and having furloughs and not being able to, a lot of people being without a lot of money for a while. Are we out of the woods just yet? Or what's on the horizon that we need to worry about?
No, sequestration, we're not out of the woods with others. We were all out of the woods with the Pearl Harbor Naval Shipyards. And we're still working through what other groups of employees will be exempt. However, it does appear that unless something happens, like sequestration is suspended or something else is done, that what we'll have is some employees that are going to be affected. People have gotten their notices. People are being told maybe Friday, Monday, whatever it is. So it depends on which group of employees that we're talking about. The sequestration issue is one, unfortunately, that there are now new reports coming out that says we really don't need to have it. But it is a matter of the will of Congress to determine at what point they are going to substitute it out or to deem it like, hey, we're okay. So there are different bills that's always been proposed to do away with it. And the main reason why is come this year, at the end of this fiscal year, we're going to actually have saved $200 billion more than expected. And by the year 2015 or 2016, it's expected that we will be at about 3%, little over that in terms of our deficit, which for most experts, they're saying that's manageable. So once we get to that point, I think people are going to have to really sit back and start to ask the question, is it necessary, or are there other ways? As the economy improves, income comes in. Like, then one of the reasons why we're losing or we're able to save the $200 billion, which is what wasn't expected, is because Medicare isn't going to cost us as much. And we also, remember, had the increase in terms of when the Bush tax cuts were allowed to expire on those on $450,000 and $400,000.
Everything's correlated. It's a big cycle. So, yeah, it's a very complicated question. And last but not least, obviously there's a big election coming up between you and Senator Schatz. And a lot of whispers about whether or not this is dividing the party. Your thoughts on that and whether we should be worried about that?
The Democratic Party has always given the people of the state of Hawaii choices. That's always been the strength of it. And this is the first time that people will have an opportunity to make a decision. And I think we can never underestimate what the people want to do, and we should not take that right away. So this is an election for the people to decide.
All right. U.S. Representative Colleen Hanabusa, she's only here until Sunday, so we appreciate your time. You're very busy. Thank you very much, Congresswoman.
Thank you for having me.